On today's Locked On Dbacks podcast, how the Dbacks stole the series from the Milwaukee Brewers, and is it time to worry about Corbin Burnes?
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist and graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles, to my photos, and my graphic design. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On today's Locked On Dbacks podcast, we'll discuss how the Dbacks stole that series from the Milwaukee Brewers. Is it time to worry about Corbin Burnes and adjustments we want to see heading into the Miami Marlins series? So a jam-packed pod for you guys as always. But I first want to say thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms. So please continue to tell your friends. And one of those platforms is YouTube. If you're watching this live on YouTube right now, thank you. We're trying to go live mainly Sunday through Thursday. There might be special days where I go live, but trying to go live Sunday through Thursday right after Dbacks games, giving you guys post-game reactions. And it's also an interactive show. So if you're watching live on YouTube, please comment in the YouTube section and we'll read it as the show goes on. But now let's get into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Let's talk about that Dbacks versus Brewers series because the Dbacks stole that series from Milwaukee. Plain and simple. Did the Dbacks deserve to win that series? I don't know if that's fair or not to say, but it's fair to say the Dbacks stole that series because when you look at each game, Dbacks get blown out. Game number 1. Game 2, Dbacks are looking lifeless until their 5-run 9th inning comeback. And then in today's game, it was a tie game the Dbacks were down most of that game until they tied it in the 6th and then went on to win. But overall, this was a series where the Dbacks looked uninspired. They looked lifeless. Game 1, majority of game 2, majority of game 3. This looked like a Dbacks offense that didn't want to be out there. And at times their starting pitching struggled. And at times this D-backs team overall just didn't seem like they were coming together until the last moments of game 2 and the last few innings of game number 3, because once again, we saw the D-backs resilience in this series, which has been their identity all season long. It's been about the toughness of the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's been about their perseverance late in these games. We know about this D-backs offense be incredible. This offense has been incredible all season long. 7th inning on this D-backs offense has really come alive. And when you look at the stats entering today's game, innings 7 through 9, the offense, a 302 average, an 872 OPS. They come alive in the clutchest moments of a ball game. And we saw them again in the last 2 games of this series. Game 2, game 3, the offense come alive. Overall, the D-backs were outscored 13-10 in this series. They were outscored in this series and only led a grand total of 3 innings this entire series. And despite all that, this D-backs team was still able to pull out a series victory, taking 2 out of 3 games. And I think that really matters. I'm not going to look at this series as the D-back just kind of got away with one, right? They struggled, but somehow they're able to get away with it. Like, I look at this series and I say, this is a mark of a good team because you're able to grind out tough wins, even when you don't look your best, even when you don't play your best baseball. You go until the final strike, the final out, and the D-backs, because of their resilience, were able to pull it out. It doesn't matter if you're down 4 runs in the 9th inning, Game 2 Saturday night, you always feel like you have a chance when guys are coming up to the plate. And so I have to give credit to this D-backs offense for battling late in those games. Great job on Saturday. Clutch hits. Alec Thomas off the wall, missed a home run by a few feet. Jake McCarthy, who has been struggling all season long, tied it up with a clutch hit. Corbin Carroll almost hit a home run in that ninth inning as well. Of course, Josh Naylor and Alec Thomas again came up super clutch on Sunday with some late insurance runs. Naylor, of course, giving us the lead. Thomas with some extra insurance runs late in the game. Geraldo Perdomo, great at bats all weekend, just spitting on balls in the dirt, balls outside the strike zone. Like, again, we talked the other day about the best D-backs players at not making outs. I think I have Perdomo number 3 behind Josh Naylor. I think I'm going to have to update that power ranking because I'm getting to the point where Geraldo Perdomo is essentially Juan Soto without the slug. That is who Geraldo Perdomo is. The strikeout numbers, he does not strike out. He has great walk rate. He gets on base a ton. All of a sudden, this season at least, the slug has been there. For the majority of his career has not been. But if he starts adding like actual home run power, like Geraldo Perdomo from a plate discipline, understanding the strike zone is like Juan Soto 2.0, which is a very nice addition in the middle of the lineup. So great job by the offense to really clutch it out this weekend. Corbin Carroll just continues to look like a legitimate MVP candidate, top 5 in baseball in OPS right now. He has been on a heater recently. And then I do want to talk about the starting pitching in Zach Gallen, who came out the gates, struggled a little bit on Sunday. I thought it was going to be another iffy start from Gallen. Of course, he's been very up and down this season. Came out that first inning, a couple earned runs, gave up some walks early in the game too. But right after he had that little mound visit from the pitching coach, it seemed like Zach Gallen really settled down and locked in after that. And it ended up being a quality start by the D-backs ace. 6 innings, 2 earned runs. Ended up being a very good start by Zach Gallen. Now, Corbin Burnes on Saturday, I did think it was a little bit more up and down, maybe because sometimes when you're in the building, I think sometimes going to games, you actually don't really get a good sense of how like your pitchers are doing at least. Like I was on Twitter during the game and Rob Friedman, the pitching ninja, posted the 4th and 5th strikeouts for Zach Gallen. I was like, dang, those are wicked pitches. But in the stadium, like I didn't know those were wicked pitches. I thought they were just good strikeouts. So maybe Burnes wasn't as bad on TV as it felt like watching him, because I felt like he really struggled on Saturday. And we'll talk more about Corbin Burnes in segment number 2, because I do want to discuss if we should be worried about what we've seen from Corbin Burnes this season. But he was at least decent by the standards we've seen so far in 2025. And we'll discuss more if we should be concerned about him in segment number 2. But a great series by the D-backs to take 2 out of 3 from the Milwaukee Brewers. Absolutely stole the series. And now they head to Miami to face the Miami Marlins next. But before we get into that, we'll talk about Corbin Burnes in segment number 2. But hey, I first want to talk to you guys about Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. My favorite Wonderful Pistachios I actually have right here. Sorry to the audio listeners only. You're going to have to go to YouTube for this one, because right next to me, I got 3 of my favorite flavors here. And this is what is great about Wonderful Pistachios. Unsalted right here, no shell. Chili roasted, no shell. And then this one is roasted and salted with the shell. The great thing about Wonderful Pistachios is the variety. You could get salted, unsalted, with shell, no shell. Get a little kick to it if you wanted to. No matter what flavor you want, they have a variety and a profile that fits just for you. So please go get yourself some Wonderful Pistachios. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Back here on the Locked on Dbacks podcast, and now let's discuss Corbin Burnes and if we should at all be worried about his start to 2025 and moving forward. Because I bring this up because it feels like there has been a recent track record dating back to Zach Greinke of these big-time D-backs free agent pitchers getting signed to large contracts and then struggling. And maybe it's not struggling their whole contract like a Madison Bumgarner, but at least the first year of their big deal, it feels like a lot of these free agent pitchers come in and don't live up to the expectation level that we have for them, don't live up to the ceiling that we have for them. I want to know if we should be concerned with Corbin Burnes as well, because of course it's still so early in his D-backs career. I don't want to make too much of a fuss about it, but at the same time, I think we can all agree Corbin Burnes has not lived up to anybody's expectations so far. And when you get the largest contract in team franchise history, I think a lot of people are expecting you to come out and immediately be the ace for Arizona. But unfortunately, it just hasn't happened yet, especially when compare Corbin Burnes versus like a Max Fried, where through 3 starts, he has a 1.56 ERA, double-digit strikeouts per 9. Like, he's looked fantastic as a major free agent signing for the Yankees this offseason. Meanwhile, Corbin Burnes, you look at his numbers, 5.28 ERA through his first 3 starts, not as good. And so is that more a product of what Corbin Burnes has been doing this season, not exactly fully ramped up yet, is on the D-backs coaching staff? Like, why is there a history of these D-back starters coming in and struggling right away during their first year? Because you go back and look at Zach Greinke, we know when he signed for $200 million, we had a lot of expectations for him, and his first year was pretty up and down, right? A 4.37 ERA, and a lot of people felt like he was a massive disappointment. People felt like that contract was a bust after just 1 season with the D-backs. Now, thankfully, when you go back and look at Greinke's numbers after that first season, he actually ended up being a massive stud for Arizona. Finished 4th in Cy Young voting that next season, 2017. 2018 gave you another 200 innings and a 3.2 ERA. And then the year after, you traded him at the deadline, but before you traded him, a 2.9 ERA and 150 innings pitched. And so Greinke, yes, he struggled the first year, but was a stud the next couple seasons after that. But the rest of these D-back starters that have been signed in free agency, some of them did not bounce back like a Zach Greinke, right, after their first year. A Madison Bumgarner, we know he was very much in the decline, but did we know he was in the decline to the point of a 6.48 ERA in his first 9 starts in 2020? Of course, COVID-shortened season, so it's like, let's give Mad Bum a little bit of grace. 2021, more of the same. 4.6 ERA, and then we, of course, know the story after that. Never was good for Arizona. You look at Monty his first year. Was it just the fact that he came into camp out of shape, signed late with the team, or would he have also been bad this season, 2025? Because Monty, of course, had a 6.23 ERA his first season with the Arizona Diamondbacks. But you also look at a guy like Eduardo Rodriguez, who really struggled his first year, 5.04 ERA. But so far in 2025, yes, the ERA might not look great, but I think by the eye test, it definitely feels like Erod is having a bounce back. It definitely feels like Erod is starting to find his groove with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And so when looking at Corbin Burnes versus these past free agent pitchers that the D-backs have signed, I would like to believe he's more in that Zach Greinke, Erod mold, where maybe that first year, new environment, a little bit of a struggle, but he should be fine the rest of his contract. I don't think Corbin Burnes is in that Madison Bumgarner, Monty role. Like, I do think Burnes might be in the decline, but do I think he's on the declining level of a Mad Bum? No, we're still only 3 starts into the season. It's still super early. Corbin Burnes actually says he was He was actually more positive after his most recent start. He actually feels better about himself going forward after his most recent start. He felt like his pitches were good. He only made 1 mistake. He felt like one of the big issues was he was going against both the opposing team and the umpire in game 2. I will agree some of those 50-50 balls Corbin Burnes did not get, but also I don't like my ace pitcher complaining so much. I want him to have a little bit more resilience, a little bit more mental toughness when not getting that strike three call, and not just blame your whole start on not getting that call. I would have liked to see him tough through it a little bit more. So it is something I'm going to track the rest of the season, but I didn't think it was that bad of a start for Corbin Burnes, and he even thought it was a positive, encouraging start for himself. His velocity was actually up in game number 2 as well. So overall, yes, when you look at like the cutter for Corbin Burnes, it's trending in the wrong direction in terms of the put away stuff. He's striking out folks less on his cutter, but that's not really the thing that concerns me. It's more the fact that it's not that he's not getting more strikes and he's not striking out more people. It's the fact that he's missing the zone more. Why is he walking more people? Why does it feel like he has more command issues? I think that's more of the problem with Corbin Burnes. Is not the lack of strikeouts, is not the K rate going down. It's the walk rate going up. It's one thing for his K rate to go down, and then maybe he became more of like a fly ball pitcher or ground ball pitcher, just a guy who induced more weak contact but didn't get the put away stuff. Now it's like you're not getting the put away stuff and you're putting guys on base more. That is what concerns me more than anything. But am I concerned overall about what he's going to do in 2025 and the rest of his contract? Not yet, because I think the biggest silver lining and saving grace with his season is the fact that the whole rotation has been up and down, right? We've seen struggles from Zach Gallen. We've seen struggles from Merrill Kelly. Fott, Erod have all been up and down at various points in 2025. And so it doesn't feel like it's just only a Corbin Burnes issue. It feels like it has perpetrated the whole rotation. And so because of that, I'm going to give a little grace to Corbin Burnes. I'm going to give him a longer runway. There's a reason he was signed to the biggest contract in Dbacks franchise history. So I'm not going to be too concerned, too worried yet, but I do have my eye on Corbin Burnes, and I do want to make sure he gets back on track sooner rather than later. Let's read some YouTube comments before we head into segment number 3. Coda Kid said, "This team gave me a heart attack." Yes, Coda Kid, because it felt like we were going to lose game 2 and game number 3 of that series. Corbin Barrett said, "Quality starts from Gallen and Burnes, though. They are finally coming around." I agree with Gallen. Burnes, I still want to see a little bit more. Frog Fan said, "Corbin Burnes equals Mad Bum equals Jordan Montgomery. I think it has to do with our coaching. How do 3-star pitchers turn into 49,000 ERA players?" I agree, Frog Fan. He also said, "Also watching AJ Puck closing makes me nervous. Why can't J-Mart close?" I agree. That is something we're going to discuss in segment number 3. Why can't J-Mart just close every single game? And then Working Man Politics said, "A win is a win, though I hope we're not always coming back in the 9th inning." I agree. You don't want to consistently bet on your team rallying in the last inning of a ball game, but this D-backs team is clutcher than anybody else. They do have 4 wins this season when trailing by at least 2 runs entering the 7th inning. Double more than any other team in Major League Baseball. So the D-backs are the answer backs. They are the comeback kids, but not something you want to rely on. Oh, what am I saying there? Not something you want to rely on. Why can't I say that word? Rely on game to game. Now we'll discuss some adjustments we want to see the D-backs make in segment number 3 against the Miami Marlins. But hey, if you're looking to manage your money, then I suggest using Monarch Money, because ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO gives you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you just stop managing your money and you start building your wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save way more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And now let's discuss some adjustments we want to see the D-backs make going to their next series against the Miami Marlins. Ivan says, what's up? What's up, Ivan? Some adjustments we want to see make. I think we should start here. Can J-Mart just be the closer every single game? I don't know why we have to do this pony song and dance where it's like, who's going to be the closer for the D-backs tonight? I could kind of see the justification when it was against the New York Yankees, playing in that little league ballpark. You had a string of lefties coming up, so it was like, okay, let's put AJ Puck out there. Fine, but every other game, I don't care about the righty-lefty matchup. Put J-Mart out in the 9th inning. He was fantastic in the 8th inning today, as he is every single game because he's given up no earned runs, had another 2 strikeouts. AJ Puck, yes, he got 3 strikeouts in the 9th, but he brought the tying run up, and that was a problem because all he had to do was just face the bottom of the order. But because he couldn't get through the bottom of the order, we had Bryce Terang and Jackson Churios coming up to be the tying run. It's like Jackson Churios looks like an MVP candidate right now. Why can't J-Mart just close every single game? Because if you get to the top of the order, I want J-Mart out there. And guess what? If J-Mart's out there in the 9th, you're not getting to the top of the order. Even if you do, he's shutting it down. Just do J-Mart every save situation. It is not hard. It is so easy. I don't know why it is so complicated. Make J-Mart the full-time closer. I love Puck, but he cannot close games for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Next adjustment we need to see. The D-backs in the middle of their lineup have to do something about Eugenio and Lourdes Gurriel. And we've seen Eugenio go through stretches or go through halves where he sucks and then picks it up. Lourdes Gurriel feels like a month-to-month guy. Right now, both of them are killing the D-backs in the middle of the lineup. They're giving us no production whatsoever. It feels like Lourdes Gurriel swings at one of the first 2 pitches and then induces a lazy fly ball or a ground ball. Feels like Eugenio, he'll battle for 4 or 5 pitches and eventually strike out looking or strike out swinging. When Eugenio's not hitting home runs and Gurriel's not hitting home runs, it feels like those 2 guys can just be black holes in the middle of your lineup. The fact that they bat like 5th and 6th for the D-backs every single night, despite a 150 average from both of them, Gurriel drawing absolutely no walks. I just don't understand why every single game we have to see them as the number 5 and number 6 hitter. I would like to switch it up just a little bit. Maybe split them up in the lineup. Do Suarez as the number 5 hitter and then Gurriel as the 7th, vice versa. Maybe one of them could be the 6th hitter. One of them is the number 8 hitter. Maybe you sit Gurriel and get a little bit more of Thomas and McCarthy going. Like, I don't know what you have to do, but I'm just tired of seeing batting 145 for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Lourdes Gurriel coming up, number 5 hitter. Then batting another 145 as your number 6 hitter, Eugenio Suarez. Like, it is 2 just black holes right now for the D-backs in the middle of their lineup. Has to be improved. Next one. Can we get a little bit more Tim Tawa? Garrett Hampson, he's been fine, but I just trust Tim Tawa's bat just a little bit more than Garrett Hampson. I like his at-bats a little bit more. I trust him from like a little bit of a power profile when it comes to extra base hits. And I also think he's a little bit more clutch. Garrett Hampson, outside of drawing walks, really hasn't done anything offensively for the D-backs this season. At least Tim Tawa, like we saw today with the sac fly, like if there's a man on third and 1 out or less, I feel like Tim Tawa can hit it far enough to at least bring that man home. Garrett Hampson, I don't know if he's going to have the productive out to give the D-backs the RBI opportunity. I feel like Tim Tawa will come through in that situation. Maybe Hampson is better defensively because we've seen a couple of hiccups by Tim Tawa at second base, but offensively, I just trust him so much more. There's just way more of a ceiling upside with him at the plate. It just feels like there's way more potential for him to go extra bases, a double, a home run. I would much rather just see the offensive player that Tim Tawa is over Garrett Hampson. So that would be one adjustment I make. And then one or two more. Can we get a little bit more aggressive with Corbin Carroll on the base path and maybe less aggressive with the other people? Because watching that game Sunday, I was like, if it wasn't the ninth inning or the eighth inning, I don't know if Alek Thomas and Josh Naylor would begin these steals. I also think it's insane. Josh Naylor has 4 steals on the season, and then Thomas and Corbin Carroll get their first steal of 2025 today. Like, we need to get more aggressive with Corbin Carroll on the base paths. He's been very aggressive going from like first to second on balls in the gap. And just anytime he can take an extra base, he will do that. But overall, is he creating chaos and havoc from just being on the bases and his steal attempts? Corbin Carroll really has not this season, 2025. So I would like to see him do a little bit of that in this series against the Miami Marlins. Like, get going, get running. Again, it's the Miami Marlins, a team that is not serious about winning. Like, if the Dbacks lose this series to the Marlins, that is very disappointing. I remember last year, the Dbacks did not play the Marlins well. The Marlins, yes, they're 8-7, 2025. As a franchise and an organization, I just do not respect anything that they've done the last few years. When they had their executive, Kim, she was fantastic. She made really good moves. This is a unserious organization, and the Dbacks, as the organization that has become the model franchise of what to do to go against the biggest markets in the NL West and the National League. The Dbacks have shown you how to spend money smartly, how to build a roster through drafts and free agency and trades. The Marlins have done absolutely none of that. So I hope this is a series where the Dbacks show you how to build a team when you have smart management, a smart front office, and a team willing to spend and build a winner, because the Marlins have not been able to do that ever since they said, let's retool and rebuild after trading away Stanton, Ozuna, Yelich. Awful decisions by the Marlins ever since then. So I hope the D-backs really take it to Miami, because I just despise that organization overall because of their unseriousness. The Marlins, the White Sox, the Rockies, all these Guardians that have owners that don't know what they're doing at all, that just hamper their organizations, feel like their franchises are still in the 1800s with how they run things. I just think it's absolutely horrible. And baseball will be better. We have more owners that want to spend and want to win games like Ken Kendrick, and more guys like the Andrew Friedmans, yes, of the LA Dodgers, who is their GM or their owner. I'm not too sure, but we need more guys like that. Get the Stephen Cohens in the world and kick out these guys who do not want to spend money and who have been owning teams for years and have been putting terrible products on the baseball field. So that's it for this edition of the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. That was it.